Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be going over the milestone that are going to be doing for this week. I will be including some file management in that as well. So if you haven't watched that video, I would highly recommend it. But I'm going to walk you guys through all of the steps for this. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to need to create a folder to store this in. So I'm going to go to my desktop right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose new folder. Now you guys should be using your first initial last name. I'm going to type JDoe in here so that we keep it standard to match with the documents. So I'm going to do JDoe milestone 1. Okay? Hit enter. It's going to create that folder. Next, I'm going to double click on this folder. I'm going to right click, choose new folder again, and I'm going to create source in here. So this is where I'm going to store the original versions of my files, and then I'll have in the main folder the final versions of what I'm working on. So now we can get started on the actual project itself. I'm going to go to Google Images, and I've got this window of a search. And so I'm going to go with this guy right here. I'll copy him. So what I'll actually do is I'll right click, save as. We'll go to my desktop. Here's the folder right here, source. And then I'm going to change this name from this giant disaster to JDoe. What is it? It's going to be JDoe person source. And then you can see that right, it comes across as a JPEG. You guys might have slightly different file versions here. So just make sure you only type this portion of it. Don't include you don't have to do that because it's doing that automatically with the file type right here. Okay. So I'll go ahead and hit save there. And then I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to type rendered cafe. And we got some images here, so I'll go through. Let me see. You can see here actually kind of what we're going to be creating is this has some people rendered in here already. So does this one. But this looks all right, and it's check the resolution when you're doing this too. Make sure you get a decent resolution. So I'll go with this one. I'm going to right click on here, save image as, and then again I'm going to call this JDoe underscore space source. Okay, so now I've got my two files here. We can now hop back in, and what I'll do is I'll just double click here, and then I'll click on Photoshop. So I'm back in Photoshop, and then just as a, oops, no, don't do that. Okay, just as a little trick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. What I can do is I can click copy, and then, come on. Okay, and then I'll do Control N, and let's see, it has custom right here. Um, if you, well, we could just drag it in too. So we can drag the image in here, and it's going to load up the image in Photoshop eventually. Okay, that took a couple seconds for me. I'm not sure how long it'll take for you guys. So, all right. I have the image right here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly isolate him. So I'll get out my eraser tool. I'm going to bump this up pretty big. Yeah, that big. We'll double click on the background so that we make this so that it can have transparency. And then I'm just going to do very broad strokes here. Oops, not his foot though. And just kind of isolate what I can out of here. And then I'll work this down to a slightly smaller size and do another pass. And we're not looking for perfect here because we are going to kind of abstract him at the end of this, so it doesn't need to be super perfect. Um, like, see how he's got some of these wrinkles in his pants? Like, I don't care about that. So, I personally do this a little bit better when I'm dragging the mouse towards myself. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to go with a size about that big, and I'm just kind of bounce along the top here, completing, so like I'll go right there, and then I'll let go of the mouse so that I finish a section. As I get to areas here where it's a little bit more straight, I'm going to hold down shift like I mentioned in the other video. And I'm just going to kind of keep bouncing around. Once I get to his shoulders, pretty easy to just cover a lot of space really quickly here. And again, I'm not too concerned about the wrinkles in the fabric. So, and honestly, he's going to end up being pretty small in the background anyway. So it doesn't really matter. You're just kind of going for, as long as he looks like a human shape, that's kind of what we're aiming for. If you did have an image that was slightly simpler, I'll finish this side real quick just by going to a bigger brush with the bracket keys and then just kind of getting rid of all this extra stuff along this side. So we'll just, again, holding down shift, just keep taking chunks out. And then again, we'll start up at the top again, a couple bounces in, bracket to shrink the size. And then we'll get kind of big again. And we've got a way to double check this too. I can also, I've been doing Photoshop long enough that I can kind of drag mostly down. Whatever works for you guys. This isn't, again, super technical. Like I probably cut into that a little bit more than I should have. That's kind of why I like the shift click method. And we'll just kind of go get the rest of this area. And then again, we'll go hold down bracket key, go big again, and we'll just kind of erase around here. And then shift clicks to clear all that out. And then oops, too big. Okay, there we go. And then we'll just kind of trace this area again too. Don't worry about, like this has those watermarks in it. We aren't concerned about that. Control Z is very handy if you screw up there. We're using this for fair use and we're significantly editing it in a way. So once I'm done, I'm going to hit V and you can see that there's kind of this shape right here isn't lined up well with it. So I'm actually going to create another layer here, drop a black background, and you can see that I've got a couple spots I missed. Another way to tell that is if I go back to the layer I'm working on, hit Control A, which is going to select everything. It's the same as just kind of taking this marquee tool and dragging and selecting everything. Then I'm hitting V and I click on the guy and I give him a little wiggle. And you can see that there's a couple spots there I missed. Except we have to turn that off to do that. So I'm just going to kind of go through. I can see a spot right there. I can see a couple spots here. So sometimes you'll miss stuff. It never hurts to just go back and give it a little check right there. I can see another spot here that it didn't. Sometimes it'll have like if I left a big chunk, like something like that missing, and I did it, then you'd see it would highlight a separate section off of the body, but it's not doing that. So we'll just go back to, not that many steps. Okay, so I'm happy with this right here. I'll get rid of this black background. I was just using that to check. So now I've got this. I've got him isolated here. So again, I'll do Control A to select everything, click V to switch to the Move tool, click on him, give him a wiggle, and now I have only his area here selected. So I'm going to switch, if you're not already, hit D to set yourself to the default tools right here if you were still on the previous video. I'm going to hit B, and my opacity. Basically, I'm just going to turn him entirely black like that. So he should be kind of like a shadow, right? So then once I have this, I'm kind of done with him. I can do a couple other things, but we don't really need to worry about like rescaling the background here. So we'll just work with this as it is. So once I'm here, I can save this as Entourage 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control Shift S, but you can also do File, Save As. And then I'll go back to my desktop in the folder. And then this is going to get saved here in the main folder. So I'm going to call this JDO Entourage 1. And we're going to put that right there. Okay. So now that I've got that, let's go ahead and go back to this. And we'll grab this, and I'm going to drag this in. And when I drag this in, I had a couple students get messed up on this previously. Drag it to this little bar right here. See how you've got the file name, and then there's this darker but not that dark gray bar? Drag this into that space right there, and it'll open it up in here. And now I can work directly inside of here. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my main folder, and I'm going to click on the Entourage file I just created. I'm going to drag that in here. And so now it's imported into here, and then I can use these controls to scale this down. So I'm going to try and find a scale that this guy appropriately looks at. So one thing I'm going to be looking for is kind of like the length from his ankle to his knee pit right here. That should kind of be the height of the chair. So you can see he's probably too short even for this. Like that would be if he was up close in the foreground right here. But I'm going to want him a little bit more in the background too, so I'll probably end up shrinking him down a little bit more. Maybe I'll put him here. So again, check that distance, knee pit to ankle. It's a little bit tall for that. So I will shrink him down a little bit more. I think that's appropriate right there. And then I'm just going to scoot him in right there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change his opacity. So we're going to drop him down to about 50% here. And that'll let us see what's behind him. So he's not blocking. So like if I'd put him over here, like if he was fully opaque, let me turn this back up. You'd see he would block out all the detail that I had here. But if I turn his opacity down, you can see through him, right? And that's kind of what we're doing here. And then once I've got him there, what I'll do is I will select the background. I'm going to do layer, and we'll do duplicate layer. So now we've got a copy of this background. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select him. Again, I'll do that selection. So, oops. I'll just get his selection area right here. Oh, it's not going to give it to me. Boo. Because I kind of wanted to go in here and erase some of his bits. Let's go ahead and just rasterize him real quick. So we will do rasterize layer right here. So that'll turn him back into pixels. And now I can go in here and I can erase little areas so that he appears like he was in here to begin with. Because we want him subtly to kind of appear as though he's going into that booth right there. So we'll get that right there. And that should get him kind of looking like he's in that space. All right. So once I've got that done, I'll go ahead and save this. So again, I'm going to don't do a save, do a file save as. And this is going to be back in the main folder. We're going to call this final. So this can be JDO final as the Photoshop document. All right, so once I'm done with that, that should be everything. So I've got him isolated there. I've got the entourage file. I've got the final. And then if I go to my folder here, you can see I've got my two source files. I've got my entourage and my final file. The last thing you guys need to do is, let me close that, close out Photoshop, is you're going to right click on this and you're going to choose send to compressed zip folder right here. So you'll choose this option, and then it did it a little bit out of the recording window for me, but it generated this file right here. And so this is a zip file. You guys will send this file, your milestone, to me in this right here. So if I double click on this, here's my milestone 1, here's my source folder with those different files, here's the entourage and the final, but it's zipped up in this so that you only have to send me this, okay? So again, this is an exercise not just creating entourage, but also getting you used to file management. That's been a big problem in the past, so I'm incorporating it more into our lectures so you guys will have a bit more file management, especially in your or in the first project for this class. So go ahead and send me that file when you're done, and if there's still time in the class, go ahead and head home. You don't have to stay after that. Hopefully I will see you guys next week, and I've kicked this cold. Later.